Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. I feel led to say good morning to the folks out in the, I guess it's the Facebook world. I know Cecil watches us every week.
Yeah.
I know Madeline's on it. I just had a hand over here. I watch it in Mansfield, yes. Two of you do? Great.
Tracy watches every week.
Tracy watches it every week, so good morning to those of you that are on the camera. And we appreciate you being here. This week, I was really led to talk about practical Christianity. The word practical is really quite a word. It means it works. Everybody there? It's simple. You can apply concepts, and the concepts work. So practical Christianity was a word that Charles Fillmore used for unity teachings. And he distilled the teachings of Jesus down into this practical Christianity idea, which really translates itself into metaphysical ideas, okay? Recently, I've been doing some work with the Heart Math Institute folks and reading a lot of their material. And they use the word inner ease. Think about that word, inner ease. And I like to say inner ease, to me, means inner peace. And I really believe everybody in the world is looking for some form of inner ease or inner peace. Some people try to get it through violence or what they call victimhood, fighting back, if you will, revenge. And I think that if I get revenge or get back at somebody, I'm going to feel better about it. But the problem is that doesn't occur. So as I use violence comes back at me. So it's a very interesting concept of inner ease. And so I thought we should really work on the idea of peace, inner ease. We've been looking at the idea of Christianity, and the idea Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is within. And a lot of times I'm asked, do you believe in Jesus? My answer is always, yes, I do. And you know what? I believe what he said. So when he said the kingdom of heaven is within, I take that. And he said, these things I do, ye shall do, and even greater things. So there has to be a state in which I apply certain principles so those things occur. Because he wouldn't have said it if he didn't mean it, is my belief. So how does that translate into the everyday world and practicality in my life? So I got to go in the Bible. My Bible says, okay? And I'm going into John 14 primarily. And what's interesting about John, the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are called the Synoptic Gospels. They're pretty much the same. There's a conversation that one of them was written first and then the other two copied the ideas from it. Doesn't matter. But if you really read them, a lot of the stories in those three Gospels parallel each other. In other words, the story of Christmas, the story of divine birth is all in those three. And then you get to John, and it's completely different. It starts out, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So it goes into, it's a more mystical part of the Bible. So John, there's the idea that John brought forth the real dynamic teachings, the practical teachings of Jesus. So when you go into John, it's looking at what he said. Now, RJ told me not to put my glasses in my pocket. They have to be here. See, I'm not allowed to make noise. Practical, right? You got to be practical. So, John 14, I'm going to read, from a few places. This is John 14:12. Verily, verily, I say to you, he that believes on me, the works I do, he shall do also, and greater works than these shall he do, because I'm going unto my Father. Now, is that clear enough? I've heard people try to weasel around it. Well, he didn't mean it that way. No, it says it here. And if I'm going to believe the Bible, well, do I believe what he said? Now, we have to take into account a lot of times these things were written years afterwards. Okay? However, at this point, we have to believe John stayed in spirit. When he was on the Isle of Patmos and wrote the Revelations and the John's, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, that was a time when he was being inspired. So we have to believe he had the inspiration of spirit during these times. Then I go on down to 19. It says, yea, and the world seeth me not, because I live, ye shall live also. And then it goes on and says, at that day ye shall know that I am in my Father. And the Father is the reference to divinity. And ye are in me, and I am in you. So we are all one together. Everybody got it? So Jesus is saying, God is in me, and I am in you, and you are in me, and we're all in me together. So me is you, and you is me, and me is we. Hello? You see, it really gets simple if you really look at it. Now, is it improbable or hard to believe? Yes. Because I have been trained. I can remember you're a worm. You're like the dust of the earth. You're sinful. Hello? If I'm a child of God, is that true? It can't be. Because anything that is of God is perfect. The only problem is I forgot that. So I am bringing out imperfect things that are part of my physical self, not my spiritual self. Okay? So there must be a way to become that spiritual self that the Bible says I am. So let's keep reading. You ready? Now I go on. Now this is verse 27. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. Folks, the physical world does not have peace, is what he's saying. Anybody ever tried to change something outside of you and it didn't work? In other words, I'm going to be better at this, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to change my... You ever try to change your thinking? You see, and this is a concept that I picked up in our Joel Goldsmith class on Thursday morning. And Joel Goldsmith says that it's not your fault that things are happening in your life. You didn't think them in. You ready? Which is totally contrary to the law of attraction training we're getting. But the idea is we live in a cloud of the world. Paul called it the carnal mind. And the carnal mind is everywhere present, so that all that negative thinking toward the world is around us and influences us. We grew up in it. We were born into it, so it's so inherent within us we don't know it's there. And so when we try to change thinking, the thinking goes, nope, it's not, you're right back. You know, it's like, try not to think of a pink elephant. Got it? Okay. What are you thinking about? Pink elephant. And that's crazy. And the only way to do something is think of something else. So we all know it's a gray elephant, so think of a gray elephant. And that's the concept, and that's how easy it is to change from the world to spirit. Because to change my thinking requires something almost deep within me, nothing outside of me. So the whole idea of a spiritual path is learning to trust spirit and changing my thinking to spirit when I go over here to the negative side of life. Now, I don't like to use the word negative, but it's a description that we use in our physical world because it's either spiritual or non-spiritual, if you can use that terminology. So it says that he says here very clearly, you know, peace I give you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Now, what does the world teach us? You better be afraid. Okay? It's just like Madeline drives, and I'll say, be careful. We're automatically programmed to go to this side of life. And if I really believe I am an expression of divinity, expressing divinity, why would I say that? Because I'm always in a cloud of divinity. But the problem is the world has trained me that the ego is in charge, not God. So you go on and read this. I'm going to read it again. Peace I live with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. The world can't do it. Then it goes on and says, let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. Ye have heard how I said unto you, I go away and come again unto you. Jesus is talking about the spiritual self. There is a spiritual part of us that's always present. Now, I was kind of kidding around me and we and us'ns, and but if you really stop and think about it, there's no they. And who do we blame? They did it to me. It's always somebody outside of me. But the truth is, we are all one, but we have forgotten that. So whether I like it, I'm one with Donald Trump, I'm one with Hillary Clinton, I'm one with what's the guy's name in North Korea? They are all, yeah, they're all part of me and my consciousness, because there's only one consciousness in the world. And that's tough to take. However, there's a part of me that gets angry once in a while. Yeah. Okay? Is there a part of me that gets ticked off? I cleaned it up, you notice that? Yeah. Is there a part of me that gets upset? Is there a part of me that wants revenge? Is there a part of me that doubts? Is there a part... And see, those are all extensions of that part of me. And so all I keep being reminded is I'm still that way. And as I let that go, things start harmonizing. So when I have a problem out there, who's creating the problem out there? I am. And that's one of the messages, okay? It's interesting to me how until I get a lesson or until I hear, I keep getting the same cotton-picking, messy thing to deal with. Okay, it's like right now, you know, we have the house out at 3117 Hawks, and the lease is up at the end of February, so I'm starting to get, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? But yet God has a plan. Agreed? You got to agree with me, please.
Yeah.
It's got more help my doubt, okay? Do you see where we go and what we do? Those are the things that we do. It's because we're in this cloud that Paul called the carnal mind. And it's not by changing that thought structure, it's by coming over here and focusing on a new system. And the new system is spirit. The kingdom of heaven is within. I run into a new book. Mark Hicks, some of you know Mark. Yeah. Mark has run truthunity.net. If you haven't been on there, by the way, get on there. You want to talk about history stuff in Unity, it's amazing what's on there. And he found the cassette tape, believe it or not, of a workshop that Eric Butterworth did in the early 1970s. And Eric, as you know, is one of the great teachers in Unity. He's written a lot of great books. And his newest book is this, Practical Metaphysics. Okay, now what Mark did was he took the cassettes and transcribed them. Can you imagine the work he did? And then a gentleman at Unity who's a book editor took that transcript and edited it into a book. And this was just published. I got it Thursday in the mail. Wow. I have 3 of them on the back table back there, okay? There were 4. Somebody's already bought one. They were here early this morning, okay? But it's really fascinating, and I'd like to share with you some of the ideas. Now, these are old, fresh ideas from Eric Butterworth. I would like to see exactly, we should probably do a book study on this. But he said, I'm going to read some of it, okay? He says here, the desire to find and know God quite often misleads us to look for God or to look for something anthropomorphic, which means outside of us. Would you agree that's the history of religion? We have created idols. We have created superhumans on clouds. We have created God on a throne somewhere. The old white man with a white beard. You know, we created all kinds of images out there. And the truth is, God's not there. That's not where God is. And then he goes on and says, which is personal, kind of superhuman, which is out there somewhere at some time in space. You see, God is not a person out there. Everybody take that in, take a deep breath. There is no out there out there. God is, period. And it goes on and says, that's shocking to a lot of people. God is a presence that is ever present and all present, or to put it in a more complete sense, God is an allness in which I exist and you exist as an eachness. So God is an eachness within each of us, and each of us is we, and each of us is they, and each of us is them. So there is no separation at all, because God is everywhere present. And if I say God is an energy that is available, even that is incorrect, because God is who I am. God is who you are. Because anytime I even talk about energy, it's something that's not part of me, unless I internalize it, use it. And then, you know, we're talking metaphysically, we're talking spiritually, that God is not a thing. God is who I am. God is who we are. So, everybody's waiting around for God to do something. We have to do something, okay? Then it goes on down here, it says, I am an expression of God. In other words, to use the term expression, I am an expression of God. Okay, then it goes on down, I am the allness or the activity of love and the substance and the life of God. Not just in me, not working through me, not surrounding me, not putting his hands upon me, nor guiding me, nor directing me. All this and so much more standing forth as me. Make a great mental note of that word as. God expresses as me. I think we should say that together. Everybody try that? 1, 2, 3. God expresses as me. I think we should say it again. I believe in the Trinity, by the way. God expresses as me. One more time. God expresses as me. And who am I? I'm an expression of God. Period.
Which means that everything is spiritual.
Everything. So there isn't anything out there. Out there is created by in here, which is the great secret of spirituality, if you will. And that's what we try to talk about every Sunday. And believe it or not, do you understand? I listen to myself. I'm getting so I look at myself. And it's okay. But do you understand how much we keep saying the same thing over and over and over again? Why?
That's because some of us are slow.
Yeah, me, I'm slow. Okay? We want to talk about prosperity. Guess what? There's another thing here, and he talks about prosperity. Here's what he says. It says, it's the key to demonstration of prosperity. No matter what you need or desire, there's a counterpart. Allness involved within you and with all things. You can never really be separated from this because you are the expression of the infinite creative process expressing itself as you. So if you got a prosperity problem, what's the root? Me. So everything goes back to me, expressing as God, and we are all one in this. Well, Shakespeare called it, we're all figures on the stage of life. We're all making up a story as we go. And the story is what we believe. But it's not only what we believe, it's what we focus on. I'm getting clearer and clearer that stillness, meditation time is valuable. I keep looking about, and we've been talking the last few weeks about what is the key. What is that secret? The secret is the spiritual path. And that requires silence. In other words, being quiet and allowing God to enter. Or no. See, God is already there. We just have to open to it. And that occurs in the stillness, not in the noise. So when we're talking and when we're chanting, and all these things are important. But the really guts of it is stillness. In other words, shutting out the world. And that's why we're now into centering prayer. A lot of you know that Madeline and I were trained in Kriya Yoga, which is the Paramahansa Yoga dance strain. Interestingly enough, I got a call from, I didn't even know it was a Kriya Yoga Center here in Austin. And so we made that connection, but guess what? Centering prayer takes care of a lot more things than I experienced in Kriya Yoga. That's personal. Okay? So that's why we're bringing that centering prayer idea in. Because it works. And the key to it is you have to do it. I apologize. I wish it was an easy. I keep looking for the shortcut. Anybody remember shortcuts? I want to get there in a hurry. Madeline has a little cartoon that the guru is on the top of the mountain up here, and there's all these people struggling up the side, and then at the bottom there's an elevator door that you can take to the top. I'll have to bring that in, because it's great. It really is. But the idea is we're always looking for the easy way. The kingdom of heaven is where? Within. So we have to instigate that conversation to open that door to that inner kingdom. It's up to us. And then affirmative prayer. Not begging God or treating God like Santa Claus or bellhop. We just say, thank you for taking care of my pocketbook. Or thank you for taking care of my cancer thing. Or thank you. It's a thanksgiving. If you really look at Jesus and what he read and what he said in the Bible, he always gave thanks for the overcoming. He never asked. He always gave thanks for. If you look up the famous miracle of the loaves and fishes. And look it up. He said, thank you. He gave a big prayer and said, thank you for feeding these people. And he fed the people. And everybody has all kinds of theories. There was a fishmonger that delivered fish just when he needed it, all kinds of stuff. Doesn't matter. Because he gave thanks for something showing up. Okay, and that's us. That's the affirmative prayer, meditation, quiet, and then hanging out with people. I've had a number of you say, boy, I was with this group on Tuesday night, or I went to this book study, or I went to this play, and they sure were negative. Okay? That's known as hanging out with people that think the same way. I'm still working on turning the TV off. Anybody relate to that?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know some of you are in that process. And I keep finding myself turning it back on. And what really got me this week was the Hawaiian missile scare. Okay? And did I get riveted? Yes, because that's what the ego wants me to do.
And football for me.
Say it again.
Football for me.
Football. Yeah, did they kneel or not? You know, all this stuff, and it's a story we make up. And I think this way. Well, that's fine, good. I think this way. Okay, so what? What is the spiritual? What would Jesus do if we use that terminology? So anyway, I encourage you. I hope we have to order more of these books. Talk to Kat if you want one of those back here. There's so much more. I only got that far in the book, and I already had all this stuff. Okay? And you are the expression of the creative process. You see, in the spiritual world, it's not like the physical world. In the physical world, there's limitations. You have to do certain things. It's like raising funds for our church. Well, we're supposed to go knock doors and ask for this and do, We either rely on Spirit or we don't rely on Spirit. And Spirit has the answers to build that building. So the idea is, can we expect a miracle? Yes. Is it really a miracle? No. It's an outworking of the Christ within each one of us. So thank you for allowing me to share that with you. I do want to read the daily word. It's amazing to me how everything always does this.
When I read that,
Absolutely amazing. Okay? Because I opened this up yesterday morning. In truth, I never lack guidance. I might not always arrive at a clear or detailed message from on high. I might even find myself called upon to trust and follow my intuition, to have faith where doubt may reside. I express that trust by placing one foot in front of the other, moving forward with conviction that my steps are taking me precisely where I need to go. I had conversations with a few people this morning, and a lot of times somebody asks me, well, why do you do that? I don't know, it's just the next step. And it's amazing what happens when you make the next step on faith, knowing that it'll come out. But you know what doesn't happen? It doesn't happen if you don't make the next step. So I encourage you, let's make the next step together. Let's make this next step individually and include the Christ in our daily practice. I love you dearly. Amanda and I have almost cried this week when we looked at what has happened here. We're a family, folks. We are a spiritual family making a difference. Some of you are doing amazing work. You really are. And you're also influencing those around you to make a difference. And we appreciate that very much. So thank you. I'm done. Bruce, you're on.
Thank you, Robert.